Hey, what's up guys, Juicy John here. Welcome to episode 10 in my series on Nitrome, and in today's episode we will be reviewing Magic Touch. That's what we're doing for episode 10. Skywire would have been great for the 10th episode, but unfortunately we're stuck with this. And for those of you who haven't played Magic Touch before, it's terrible. It feels like the prototype to a minigame, as they later released a mobile game based on this, which I'll go over later in the review. But as for this original game, the whole thing takes place on this castle. It looks like there's a monster inside, which if you were fighting a giant monster in a castle, that probably would have been cool, but they just pan up and they don't use the monster at all in the game. So I'm not really sure why it's even there. And on top of the castle is a wizard that you control in order to defeat knights that are falling from the sky with balloons attached to them. Everything in this game feels so random, except for the soundtrack in the game, which is great. It's really upbeat and sounds medieval-like, if that makes sense, which would have been great for an epic adventure game set in medieval times, which this is not. Now, on to the gameplay itself. So the help tab pretty much sums up the entire game. You have to draw the shapes which are on the balloons attached to the knights in order to defeat them. Now I'll show you some of my gameplay, but overall it just does not work well trying to draw with the mouse. I mean, have you ever tried writing words in MS Paint? Because that's how this whole game feels. Now each of the shapes has its own color of balloon, which you kind of have to learn, as some of the times one of the robots will cover up a balloon from another robot. As you can see here, where I just had to guess which shape that was. So not only is it hard to draw with the mouse, one type of shape is completely broken, which is the arrow shape, and here's just a compilation of all the times where I draw it and the game does not count it. So that shape doesn't work about 15% of the time, and sometimes the other shapes don't work. So it's already hard to control since you're using the mouse, and a lot of the time the game cannot tell what you have drawn. And there are no power-ups or different types of enemies. As you can see here, I got past 1,000, and all that has happened is they add more balloons to the knights. Ultimately, this whole thing reminds me of one of those learn to type games from the late 90s or early 2000s. And I can really see this game being one of those, where instead of drawing shapes on the balloons, they would have letters that you can type. But since you're drawing shapes instead of typing letters, this game is a complete mess. So although this game is basically a prototype, some cool stuff came out of it. For one, this dude Arthur made his own DS port of the game, which I could already see working a lot better. Because I've played games on the DS before where you draw with the stylus, and those have always worked well. So not only does this look like a pretty good minigame that you could play on the DS, Nitrome gave this guy a job. So it's pretty awesome that Nitrome hired one of their talented fans, unlike other big game developers who decide to sue people for good fan work. So not only did someone get a job, it also seems like they made a really good mobile game based off of this. Now here's the trailer from 2015, which on YouTube has over 1 million views. As you can already see, the artwork looks way cooler, there's power-ups and different types of enemies, and it looks really awesome. And obviously using a touchscreen for this type of game is going to work way better than using a mouse. I mean, look right here, the castle opens up and shoots the robots. Like, none of this was in the old game. Also, I found 2 really big Portuguese-speaking YouTubers who played this game back in 2015. So yeah, the mobile game looks pretty cool, it's free to download, so I'm going to try it out this weekend. But as far as the original game goes, in its state, it is terrible. And usually my reviews are way longer than this, but I can't think of anything else to say about this game. There's not much variety in the shapes that you draw, there's no variety in the enemies, and the ink meter doesn't really matter at all. But because of the music and the cool things that came out of it, I'll spare this game a 1 and give it a 2 out of 10. So you can try it out if you really want to. I got the game linked in the description, but I suggest you try out the mobile game, it looks a lot better. So unfortunately this game wasn't that good and there wasn't much to talk about, but next week I will be reviewing Skywire, and that is going to be by far the most popular Nitrome game that I've reviewed on this channel. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that, leave a like if you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Lace up.